We are back here at the Asia Pacific Grandmasters, and we've got another matchup coming up for you. It is going to be DawN versus Tyler, and you know, I'm pretty excited for this one. I always enjoy watching the Cloud9 guys play, and we've got, you know, Flurry doing extremely well, and now, you know, DawN also off to a fantastic start last week as a 2-0, and even, you know, across the way, like Calento had a 2-0 start as well. So Cloud9 looking pretty good so far. Let's check out DawN's list. It is going to be another Mage matchup, but it is going to be Mage going up against a Warrior. So is there anything that really sticks out to you in this Cyclone Mage list?
So this is a little similar to the Mage we just saw in our previous match. Like, there are double Vex Throws in the main list. We have one Nova, but one of the main differences here is that there's no Rabble Bouncers. So there is a bit of a attack against aggro, but without the Rabble Bouncers, what do we have here instead? I guess an extra Banana Buffoon?
Yeah, I think when you look at this, is the Harrison Jones, for example, but also the Banana Buffoon ×2,
right,
just leads me to believe that DawN just had a kind of a good shout. There's, you know, obviously the double Vex Throws just in case, and also bear in mind you do have to prepare and submit decks to play 2 opponents, not just one. But for the Warrior matchup, I think the deck's pretty solid, to be honest. No complaints.
Even against Warriors, the Vex Throws honestly aren't terrible. Sure, the Warpath can help clear it a lot, but in Bomb Warriors that are only running one Brawl, for example, and if you just happen to not have a Warpath, and the Vex Throw 6, I mean, sure, it's not giant hitting you for 8 at a time, but, you know, a 3, a 2, a 1, it adds up.
It's a wave, right? It's an extra wave of minions to make the Warrior deal with them. But this Warrior also isn't the most standard thing in the world, or at least it wasn't similar to what you've seen last week too much of. Let's check out Tyler's Warrior deck, and there are some interesting notes here. This is Ultimate Wallet Warrior. As you see, there are many stars, and those stars don't mean they're just cool cards. They are legendary, so not the cheapest deck to make it. 15,720 dust. Slightly expensive as a deck, but most importantly, you've got all the usual happenings for Bomb Warrior, but look at those key cards. Alexstrasza, Grom, and Cairn Bloodhoof. This deck will go the distance versus pretty much anything that can be built in the game right now, at least is my opinion. But how is it going to do versus Mage? Are these techs with Mage in mind?
So this is actually really interesting. Tyler has obviously cards that we've seen powerful in the Americas region last week. Between all the Warrior Mirrors, people who teched in extra threats found a bit of an advantage there. So it's possible that Tyler might have been expecting some Warriors, but also think about how this matchup usually goes, the Bomb Warrior against Mage. You often try to get something down a bit early, like a 1-drop, a 3-drop, maybe a Milish Commander or Wrench Caliber, but then you kind of fizzle out because you don't have that many like 5s or 6s. Sure, you have the 2 Dr. 7s, but there's a bit of a... If you can't kill your opponent super quickly and you take it a bit longer after that, the Cairn gives you something to do, the Grom gives you something to do. There's some middle threats that you can throw out now. You don't have to be like, all right, I'm going to play a few minions. All right, now I have to figure out what I'm doing until turn 10, until my Devastators are active. And this is a kind of way to do that. It can be either I don't have to remove, or I don't even have removal. Let's say there's a case where I don't have removal. Do I just like armor pass? Do I try to make some trades? Like just play a Cairn, hit him in the head.
The flow of the game is very up and down, right? You know, you can start off very quick, and then that middle game kind of fades away. And what's most importantly for me as well, sometimes Bomb Warrior has that early start, and then, you know, Mage is around 15 to 16, maybe 19 health between that, you know, middle to late teens. Will suddenly, you know, Cairn hitting once and then the Grom proc, it could just be dead. You know, it's kind of nuts. Let's go into game number 1 and another test. This is the week of the Cyclone Mage, and what, honestly, I mentioned this at the start of the show, but I'm really enjoying this, and I ain't saying this just because I'm casting and you know, I should try and make the game sound fun. I'm being completely honest here, but seeing what's deemed the best decks play so many different matchups is cool. Like, I'm enjoying it a lot because we've seen it already now versus, we've seen mirror matches, but we've seen it versus Hunter, we've seen it versus the Druid, now we've seen it versus Warrior, and we get to see just how these players are actually teching, building, and also playing the specific matchup. And it's super cool because one thing that I found was a little bit worse in Conquest was that there could be a cool matchup, but it never happens.
Sometimes you just don't
it
see
just misses it, right? The one deck wins, and it's not that matchup, and then they just dodge it. And so matchups get dodged, whereas I feel like here, as long as players are bringing a few decks, which so far Eggpack has done a pretty decent job of representation, it means you get to see like, okay, what do mage mirrors look like? What does mage versus warrior look like versus rogue versus hunter, so on, so on, so on. So it's super cool, and I'm learning a lot and enjoying it greatly. But let's go into this game and see what's cooking, as Tyler does not have, at the moment at least, a turn 3 into 4 into... Never mind.
This is interesting. Tyler is running Omega Assemblies in his main list. We see him just play it on 1, recognizes, I'm not going to stay till turn 10. I'm going to try to find something, pressure you a bit. And he picks up a Spark Engine, I believe this is called. And this is actually really interesting because it wasn't like the beefiest thing. He could have taken an Eternium Rover, and that was like kind of cool as well. But he knows that going into his turn 2, or after his turn 2, it goes into DawN's turn 3. So if DawN's going to play Arcane Intellect, this pushes 2 damage. If DawN plays Banana Buffoon, this kills a Banana Buffoon. So
if he pings, cool, his hand sucks.
That's the thing. Yeah, if it pings, all right, you're not playing the 3-drop, you're not drawing cards. This is good for me. So I like what Tyler went for here. And of course, you still are left with a Spark left over in your hand as an extra 1-mana 1/1 rush.
Reasonably flexible as well, because we've seen time and time again, Mage can put a lot of minions on the board very quickly, and some of them are very small. So an extra 1/1 rush is pretty sweet. You see kind of the opposite curve plays, or the flipped curve plays, should I say, of like calling out the 4-drop to then maybe follow it with a 3-drop, just because the Militia Commander is so good that you can take out the Luna and keep it around as a 2/3, which is a reasonably solid minion for a lot of these early curve from DawN.
Yeah.
And also, most importantly, with that Spark now, he does have a full turn 4 play with a 3-drop into Spark if he really wants. I like it. And now it's just... This is the thing,
now,
right?
now DawN has to think about what he's going to do, because you pretty much have to Banana Buffoon. There's nothing else you can do with your hand, really. So I'm curious if it would have been better to Banana Buffoon last turn, just say whatever, your Spark Engine kills this, and then I'll try to actually get value off of Luna. I don't hate that he took a risk there.
It continues to be, like, this kind of hand is why I'm being more and more convinced that double Sandbinder is just... Is it Sandbinder?
Yeah, Sandbinder.
Yeah, okay.
Not Seabinder.
I feel like double Sandbinder just... Yes, of course it would be good on curve to draw you a giant when you don't have any hand. But kind of. That's kind of my point, right?
Good,
like running 2 of, they draw you giants or cyclones, which are the 2 key cards, the key minions in the deck. Because I feel like this deck only falls over when you get one of these hands that's very either spell heavy or just doesn't have anything to actually do.
It kind of feels like old Miracle Rogue, where like sometimes you just
get beat
like
by your own hand.
6 mana, cool, pass your turn, and then there's other times where you just do a crazy amount of stuff.
And sometimes you can go big with the Cyclone, and sometimes it still whiffs, because the spells just aren't either good or relevant to the game right then and there. Which means, cool, I've got 4 spells in hand that I've generated. None of them really do anything. So even me going off on all these spells didn't achieve much. It's not as consistent as, say, for example, Miracle Rogue back in the day.
I like this from DawN. His hand is going nowhere really fast, so he's trying to find a way to make it go somewhere.
Do something, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's what I mean. You have to do something. Even if these spells don't end up being mind-blowing, which they're definitely not mind-blowing. This is kind of what I'm talking about. Look, he has to do... This is what I mean, right?
This is interesting. This could also be a setup for Sea Giant, right? Because he freezes 2 minions. It's unlikely these get killed off. And if they do get killed off, if they get killed off, then the Sea Giant's really not coming down. But this lets him do something, right? Yeah. Instead of just waiting for something to be drawn and just taking too much damage from Tyler, he's saying, all right, I'm going to have to do something here, so let's do this now. Let's make something happen.
It's really tough, though, isn't it? Because it's definitely not the best players in... I'm saying it's a bad play to do, but... Not the best thing a mage player can do on these turns, is what I mean,
you don't often
right?
want to conch calling a 2-drop.
Even with the Sea Giant, or let's say, in a world without it, DawN kind of went off there.
Yeah.
And it didn't really achieve much, right? Because if he plays a Sea Giant and it just gets killed by something already on the board...
Yeah, we spent resources, he spent the Giant, and then it's like, now what?
And look at this, the spells are bad too.
They're not great. You could do some stuff with this.
Really? Like concede?
No, you could you could set up to try to get a blast wave value. Like you could trade the 2/3 into okay. I kind of like this.
Oh, if only there was a cheeky Arcane Intellect with mana to pay.
So this is nice. This lets DawN knows that Tyler's only running one Brawl on the main list, so this lets DawN kind of just develop a board and say, all right, this is going to be my kind of push right now. If you don't have the Brawl, cool, start trading off your minions. And even if like the Giant's cleared, there's just enough stuff left on board that it lets DawN do something for a couple turns until he can find something else to do. Now that's not necessarily going to work out as DawN hopes, because Tyler does have a Warpath and he has drawn the second one as well. So I very much expect to see the board get cleared here. He's just trying to probably figure out if there's a way he can do it.
I think just 2 Warpaths armor up is probably the way, right?
Yeah, clears the board. You left with a 3-1,
and you press the armor button, which you've got Shield Slam in hand. Even if you end up Shield Slamming a Sorcerer's Apprentice, you know what? You'll probably take it at this position in the game.
Perhaps, yeah. DawN's really low on resources, so anything that gets developed, if Tyler just clears it, it's going to be hard for DawN to find a game plan.
Well, I feel like right now you have a read that there's no Mountain Giant.
Right.
And you've just seen 2 Conjurers calling.
Oh, okay, no, we're fine. Oh, no, we're not. It looked like the... when you play Book of Spectres and your hand stays stationary, it looks like all 3 cards are discarded, but it was just a bit of a delay in the...
Yeah, because we're viewing Tyler's side, and then DawN's hand is DawN's side of the game too, so it's a slight delay.
So it lost the mirror images, but that's honestly about as good as you can expect a Book of Spectres to be in this deck. Like, it could be pretty disastrous. So
and it was mirror images, you'll take that every day of the week. Yeah.
But again, look, DawN recognizes he's not in a great spot. He needs to do something that can help him get there, even if it's a bit risky. Tyler taking the time to just play out Dr. Boom Mad Genius. There's only 1 bomb in the deck for DawN, so Blastmaster Boom isn't that great.
He doesn't need it to be right now, though, does he?
That's the thing. He doesn't.
Tyler, for example, I'm seeing it's extremely likely. Obviously, we can see the hands, but now as the turn's being played out, Tyler has Acolyte and then Warpath.
Yeah.
So draw 3 cards and I won't say clear the board, because it depends what the board looks like in terms of health, but potentially clear the board.
So we didn't touch this when we were reviewing Tyler's list, but Tyler's running 2 Acolyte of Pain, so this... he's running 1 Elic, he's got a few other cards too, but this gives him more of a consistent game... Oh, okay, I like the bananas. This is more a consistent game plan where it's like, alright, I'm going to draw more stuff, and then I'm gonna do that good stuff, you know? Instead of just trying to get more...
And here we go.
This is interesting in a couple ways. So DawN recognizes that he still needs to do something, so he makes a board with a Vex Crow. The double bananas means that the Vex Crow is out of range of that second Warpath if Tyler were to have it, and even with a Brawl, alright, then the Brawl's gone, right? So the Thrower is kind of funny. Tyler can still say, alright, I'm just gonna triple Warpath you, then go Microbots. Warpath doesn't do a whole lot for the Mage, but it does increase your hand size, the Mage's hand size, which might give DawN the potential to play a Giant.
What's funny is the Warpath interaction with Cho.
Oh yeah, you get multiple copies of it.
And one, this is filling his hand up, which you could say, oh, you know, bad for Mountain Giant. Most importantly, though, Tyler wants this Cho to live, because Tyler's either only going to get his Warpaths back, or he gets the Mage spells, which are sick.
Whenever Cho pops up in games, you're like, all right, let me put my thinking cap on. Like, this is going to...
Who is this beneficial for? And I feel like a lot of players play around it too much. They will, like, avoid doing too many spells because they don't want to give their opponent the value. But the problem is, if Cho stops... Imagine if Cho's ability was your opponent doesn't cast spells. Right, this card's the best card in the game.
Right?
Because they just don't do anything. Just have it back. Now, like, he's gonna warp. There you go. There's the respect, right? He knows he's on the losing end of Cho right now by far. But look at the mana. 4 mana out of his turn 9. He's
killing off his own
minions.
The thing is, there's not a whole lot else going on for DawN. He does have an Arcane Intellect, which he probably would have liked to use. He can't right now because his hand's a little full.
He's like,
but
Echo.
You might play the image. Not the images. The Arcane Missiles just to be able to AI Arcane Intellect.
Yeah, he's just gonna do it.
He wants to spend the mana. It sucks
I was wondering whether, sorry to cut you off, whether he's just playing Harrison, because remember, this is the initial deck, and this does not run the Super Colliders.
Right.
So if your opponent swings the bomb weapon at you, then okay. But at the moment, because of that turn, yeah, he drew cards, but he has a 2-1 on the board, and that's it.
I mean, you also see that Tyler's going to Zap Cannon turn, so playing and you just give him Warpath. So it's possible that he's thinking, I just want to give him a free Zap Cannon. I mean, not to say that, you know, Tyler's going to hit a bad hero power. All the hero powers are beneficial in some way, but maybe he's thinking, maybe it's not quite the turn to play it out. There's a Sandbinder in hand. I believe there's 10 cards, so he'd have to play something else as well from DawN's side. Kind of a rough scenario. Is he running, he's not even running Astromancers in his main list. It's technically
why would
much
he have to play
Fragile.
something else?
2, 4. If he plays the Sandbinder, he draws a card and stays
but
at...
it's
Oh,
gonna
he
be
can just,
Giant, right?
you can just play the Giant.
Yeah.
Right.
There you go. Yeah, he pinged the boom bot, and he can even Ray of Frost the Blastmaster boom. So this was about as good a turn as it gets. My only worry now for DawN is, does he have to wait for the second Conjurer's Call? Oh, never mind. Nope,
No, he's just going to find one.
one.
It's fine.
So now he doesn't play the Giant.
Right.
This was my query, right? If you play the Giant and he dies, DawN actually pretty much just doesn't have threats
I
left.
think he wasn't playing the Giant this turn, because by playing the Magic Trick means if you were to play the Giant, you don't have mana to Ray of Frost, so he's saying, I need to wait.
Oh,
yeah.
Before he Magic Tricked
Oh,
was whether
yeah,
he played the Giant Ray of Frost on the 7/7.
I think you might be at a point where you need to wait for that, because
that's what I mean. There's not much left in the deck for you to kill your opponent with if the Giant gets cleaned up. And also with turn 10, 1 Omega Devastator, which we can see Tyler does have, well, the Giant just dies. And
also
that's
just
probably game.
Discovery Drone, Omega Assembly. There's a lot of stuff to navigate around for DawN. It might be past the point where you can.
Whenever you discover Omega Devastator, haha, discovery win condition is so nuts.
It's gonna. There's some crazy stuff that's gonna have to happen for DawN to win this game.
DawN's got no choice, though, right?
I mean, you gotta do something, right? Like
the longer he waits, the more mechs he gives Tyler.
Right.
I think he just has to go in and be like, well, this either wins me the game or it doesn't.
I think he's gonna play both.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think you have to. I think you have to go in. This is clearable, and this is slightly less clearable.
Which is crazy because it's just gonna get cleaned up. With 2 Omega Devastators in hand, that's pretty rough.
Although that Conjurers was generated, it was not called. There's still one in the deck.
So there's still one in the deck.
So it's not all over yet, but DawN's running out of things to Conjurers, and this is the issue with this sort of anti-aggro build. Of your top end, or DawN's top end, is 2 Sea Giant, 2 Mountain Giant. That's it.
Yeah.
There's no Antonidas. There's nothing else that's late game. So it means that if these Giants don't get him there, there's nothing left to get him there. And now there's just a double trade from the Devastators. Or he could just pass. I don't think it matters.
Yeah. Funnily enough, one of the benefits for DawN at least is that there's not like a shield slam left that can be used from Tyler's side, so at least the Omega Devastators get traded off, but
it's a small
it's
the thinnest of silver linings to any cloud I've ever seen.
Really cloud.
It's like
yeah, he's digging real hard to find that silver lining. Sea Giant picked up, so there is something left over, but you're at 15. There's not that many bombs in the deck, but I feel like the longer we get, like if we get to the end of our decks, I think Tyler's just gonna win.
Oh yeah, 100%. There's still no Brawl been played. There's still 2 weapons which equate to, what, 12 damage?
Yeah.
Yes, there's Harrison, but at this point, if the weapon's equipped to the sword, Harrison gets DawN closer to the bombs, which is like, there's 10 cards in the deck, like that's not a lot. And he's not even played most of his bomb cards yet.
Okay, I figured it out.
Okay.
Blast Wave into Astral Rift into Elysiana.
Don't even joke.
We'll make our own Warrior Mirrors, okay?
No,
we can't let Americans have all the fun.
No, we will not. I will refuse.
Okay.
I have walked away from a casting desk before in a show. I will do it again.
Well, as long as we got the mic on, it's fine.
No, I took my headset off and left. All TJ's fault.
Oh boy. I mean, well, not much left to do from Tyler's side. He's like,
damage with the zap as well. And honestly,
pop you in the head.
One of the most one-sided games I have seen of Warrior versus Mage.
We haven't even seen the Cairn or the Grom or the I mean, the Alex might not do that much at this point because DawN's a little.
Bear in mind, though, I think the most important thing is this is not Tyler's anti-mage list.
Yeah.
He has an anti-mage list.
To be fair, DawN's list is very not anti-warrior, but Yeah, even his anti-warrior list doesn't seem like it's going to be
Right.
that insane, especially with Tyler switching to, the powerful other cards.
And switching out all the cool stuff like Grom and Ken.
Yeah, that's okay.
Last wave, not going to generate many cards because it is an overkill requirement, not just a kill.
There's the Conch calling left in the deck for DawN.
I believe Tyler also has the the militia commander, right? Yeah, number 2.
Yep.
So he can just kill off this Hearthstone with no problem. No matter which way he does it.
Yep. This hits DawN to 5 health, which means any bomb is going to do it. There's 2 bombs in the deck.
Wow.
Okay, I'm going to assume there was a...
Yep, okay. Oh, the bomb was drawn.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll have to get these... we'll have to get an official request to get these graphics of the victory screen just come in just a little bit later. I do want to see that portrait blow up. I'm sure a lot of people in chat do too. But yeah, the bomb did go off there, which was drawn, so it was just instant death anyway for DawN. And I said it a few minutes ago, but I'll say it again. I don't think I've ever seen as one-sided a game as I just saw, for that matchup of Warrior versus Mage there. So DawN's got it all to do to fight back versus Tyler, as I imagine we're both going to be switching. But while we wait to see if the players do make that choice, we're just going to go to a quick break and we'll be right back.
So you're probably wondering why I gathered you here. Let me take a moment and break it down. We've been given black eyes by the good guys. Oh, but that's about to change. Those meddlesome mortals who've mucked up our missions will finally feel some of our pain. You see, I have a devious plan that requires a demonstrative fist, and each of you will have your dreams come true as a finger's finger of peace. What? All right, let me try this again. Alone all our dreams went. Kaboom! Yes, but united we'll take all the candles. No fish digging.
I'm seeing what you want to do.
Let me hear it.
We'll come together so we can dismantle.
Now here's the plot to capture your greed and intrigue. We'll take Dalaran for all that it's got. As we form an evil league.
Now the cards show me a tinker, so clever, but kind of a stinker. In a storm that's a raging, sits the last one I'm paging, a truly unusual thinker. All bots are now gonna go boom, but still, you shouldn't assume that I've made this selection on my own direction.
No, indeed, let's be clear. I have brought you all here, and now you're all in. It is time to begin.
We're back. We have DawN versus Tyler going to continue now, and Tyler currently 1-0 up in a very convincing game number 1 of Warrior versus Mage. And DawN's Mage has the questions to be asked, and you see that, like, basically the opening deck just has to do well enough, and I feel like against Warrior, maybe DawN wasn't expecting this, and because his deck only has the 4 Giants as threats plus Conjurers, of course, but that's it, and if those threats are dealt with, then there's nothing else. There's no Antonidas, there's no Astromancers, there's no late game to be able to keep pushing. So a little bit difficult for DawN, but both players have moved on to their secondary deck, so I do believe we can check those out. So, you know, what's DawN got here, and what are his chances, do you think, in terms of increase?
Well, so DawN's removed a Banana Buffoon, a Frost Nova, Stargazer Luna, and the 2 Vex Crows. So fewer cards that are a few cards that aren't that great against Warrior have been cut out. We've added 2 Astromancers, 2 Mechanical Whelps, and an Acidic Swamp Ooze. The Ooze should help out a little bit, along with the Harrison already in the list. The Whelps are kind of interesting. We haven't seen Whelps too much as a tech for Mage against Warrior, but it is something you could Conch Calling just to get a 7/7 out of, and then 2 6-drops, and it's also some good Brawl hedge. Although it can still be played around a little bit if the turns go late enough, you go like Warpath, then Brawl, but then it's still kind of difficult to clear the board. So I kind of like these techs coming in from DawN. I'm not sure if it's quite enough. It is 4 extra threats, but I mean, we'll have to see if it's enough, because
yeah, it's tough, right?
Yeah.
I do like the Whelps, because the general rule with to make a really good Conjurer's Calling minion is high value but understated, which is exactly what the initial version, like the first minion you play, the Dragonling on the board, or the Whelp, sorry, is because it's a 6-mana 2/2, which is terrible stat wise, but it has the death rattle. So once you can just call that, as you quite rightly said, it's a 7/7, and then 2 6-drops, which is pretty. I think 6-drops are in a decent spot right now in the game and what's in rotation. But let's check out Tyler's list that he has switched to. Unfortunately, I hate to break it to you, he took out all the fun stuff. So basically the Grom, the Cairn, one of the Alex and Alexstrasza. Elysiana can be taken out, that's not fun. But the other cards are gone, so maybe a little bit more of an affordable deck for players to make. But most importantly, it's second Brawl, 2 BGH, 2 Super Colliders. So DawN runs 2 weapon removal. Now Tyler's running 4 weapons, which is a pretty big deal. And as we said, there still aren't tons of threats. The Astromancer Mechanical Whelps, the problem with Astromancer is it's so dependent on your hand being full. And I feel like this week already, we've seen time and time again where Mage isn't keeping a hold of a big hand, because they can't. They have to play stuff to be able to keep competitive on board. And so, we'll see how good Astromancer sticks as some of the choices. To be honest, for me personally, Astromancer versus Power of Creation, I would prefer Power of Creation as a direct swap if I was building the deck. But I'm not as good as DawN, so I'm probably just wrong. But it's just personal preference of like a little bit more difficult to deal with for a Warrior,
right?
And not as
it's not conditional.
Yeah, exactly.
You can just play card and
not as varied as well. But actually, very few 6-drops available, and because you get to choose as well, it's not just generated one. You actually have a one. It's pretty difficult. Sort of my point is to not get one decent 6-drop out of 3 to choose. So. Okay, well, let's go into it. This could be another sweep if Tyler keeps at it. He does have the Super Collider, but it's going to be very valuable. And that Brawl, don't know if it's the added Brawl or the original Brawl, we'll never know. But it is one of the 2 that are now available in the deck.
DawN doesn't have a whole lot going on, so he's saying, all right, let me Magic Trick on 1, maybe find an Arcane Intellect, something else to go with. And if not, maybe we just hit another Conch Calling. I'm a little skeptical of what DawN cut for these added tech cards. We've been talking about Mage sometimes struggling to have hand size, and removing cards like Stargazer Luna and one of the Banana Buffoons kind of reduces the consistency of having that hand size. Now, originally the deck did only run 1 Banana Buffoon, 1 Sandbinder, and some lists actually didn't have Luna at all. But I think if you have them, you might as well just, if you have the option to put them in, I think you really should, because it helps you, A, get to those threats that you need, and B, it just helps you maintain the hand size, because it can be a struggle.
I think I'm generally more leaning towards a Luna Keep than a Banana Buffoon. So one of the problems about Banana Buffoon is the actual spells that you get are actually quite difficult to land, because you don't often have minions when you're against Warriors specifically. But I do agree, I think like removing hand size generation and card draw for more value can be tough, because you might not get to that value if you don't draw the cards.
So the Banana Buffoons tend to be a bit better with people taking in Antonidas, because then you have the extra bananas as 0 mana spells with the Apprentice. So I mean, this could be just a different way to take it. So we'll see if the Mechanical Whelps do pay off for DawN. I definitely haven't seen this too much. I've seen it hanging around a little bit in open cup lists, but I haven't played against it that much.
Yeah, I've definitely seen it discussed because, like I said, when everyone sort of clicked the Conjurer's Calling was as good as it is, you go to, right, what can we conjure as? You know, what's good?
Yeah, right.
What's the best cards to conjure as? And that's how, you know, very quickly players got to Rabble Bouncer, right? High cost, but, you know, potentially low to play and high value.
Tyler, recognizing that he does need just stuff on the board. He could take the super late game, but just having stuff on board's good. Do a bit of pressure, don't give Mage that much time. And even if the Mage does end up having threats, and like they just leave the Omega Devastator up, just hit him in the head.
Yep. And I really like, even if it wasn't, I mean, there's a clear kill anyway, but I actually just like Wrench Caliber here from Tyler because I feel like the Super Collides are so powerful in this matchup. Play Wrench Caliber, you could even hold one of the swings for a long time and just, use your weapon removal. If you use it on that, then that's +1 Super Collider for me later on, which is absolutely absurd.
I definitely like the Wrench Caliber equip here.
I think swing it once and hold, maybe for a little bit, see what happens.
I think it's fine. Could go face with the Devastator, but he's thinking maybe I don't give him like a free Conjure Calling. Like, sure, he has other better stuff to Conjurer's Calling, but I mean, why give him anything, right? Just also, there's still Devastator left on the board. It's a clean trade.
And the thing is as well, how does DawN deal 3 to this Devastator? You know, in almost every circumstance.
Also, could mess up with Super Collider, right? If he's expecting a Giant Coin Conjurer's Calling, he wants to make sure there's no like chance that the Super Collider fails. So there is a clean kill with Super Collider. You'll have to trade off your Devastator, and you have to override a Wrench Caliber charge. But I think that's just the way to go.
I mean, think it's the way to.
There's no world you brawl this. I think you have so many good tools that you can take this a bit later. Like, you know, you're not going to die to like Antonidas stuff later as well. And I think you can play around Mechanical Whelp enough.
Yeah. The selling point for me is the second Super Collider. So even if this gets answered and then there's follow-up, you're like, well, okay. Probably can't answer the second Super
He's making
Collider.
a face. Like, it does seem kind of like, I'm wasting a Wrench Caliber charge. I'm using a charge of the Super Collider and trading off the Devastator. But I think you just have to do it. DawN does have the Harrison. Yeah.
There's no follow-up for Tyler. That's the real issue, right?
True.
Does he like have to play Dr. Boom here?
I don't want to say you have to, but you probably just do. I don't think you want to give the Mage that much leeway. And there is a bomb left. Like, there's a bomb in DawN's deck, so it's like,
yeah, it's
okay.
It's Dr. Boom.
It's Dr. Boom, yeah.
Yeah, old school.
Cute play you could do here is Warpath and then Dynomatic. Right? 7 mana. Clears up the board.
You know what? I'm down with that play.
I'm not in love with it. I feel like because of specifically the Mechanical Whelps, I think you do want to be able to go Warpath Brawl later on.
I feel like, though, the Super Collider often trades off the Whelp for you, right? Because if you're not brawling a board that only has a Mechanical Whelp on it, and then if you're not brawling, it means there's the minions. Well, there's a 2 health minion that you can make 1 health if you choose to swing into the Whelp. Then that means that it almost certainly always dies, right? Okay, so DawN is choosing to go wide here. Mirror Image.
Get the Sea Giant down now.
Yeah, chuck it down while you can. I mean, honestly, if you want a general rule of thumb in control matchups, if you can throw a Sea Giant down for cheap, just do it. Because your other minions you can make work later on. But just get it done now. And Tyler now is a pretty juicy brawl.
I like this a lot. All right, Tyler, show me the first brawl. Hakar popping up is kind of interesting too. Obviously, DawN's going to be the one with bombs in the deck, but if both players have Corrupted Bloods in their deck and the game does start going longer, technically the player with more health is more likely to just survive longer. Right. So if they're going back and forth and DawN's not taking damage and Tyler's not taking damage, the Hakar does mean that, you know, it puts Tyler on the clock technically. Now that's not the case if Tyler is, you know, the aggressor and he had some more stuff on board, but
also but Tyler can regen health with armor up and potentially Dr. Boom as well and shield blocks. So that does make a big difference because again, Mages kind of joined the rogue in more places than not in terms of just damage permanence, right?
Yep.
To heal, they discover ice barriers sometimes.
Or just they
have Ziliacs, but everyone's got Ziliacs, so who cares? But You know, that's like one of the awkward things is a lot of the time the damage you take as mage is the damage you've taken for that game, and that's just it. There's not much recovery.
So this is one of the things I was curious about the mechanical whelps. You just play it and it's a 2-2 on that turn, so if you're not already ahead, it's kind of like...
Meh.
Yeah,
I'll make that noise for you.
Alarm bot.
Yeah. But the good thing here is like...
It does set up, which, yeah, I mean, you need some setup with this deck, right? It's not cards that do stuff just by itself, necessarily, but it does feel a little lackluster right off the bat. Oh, another important thing is that it doesn't, I didn't even consider this, Dynamatic doesn't hit it, right?
No.
And it doesn't hit the 7/7 left under it as well, so that's kind of cute.
The biggest problem for me is the Conjurer's Call procs the Death Rattle.
Oh, can you imagine
against,
if it didn't?
Yeah, so against Warrior, you destroy the thing that makes you good versus Warrior.
True.
You know, and with double brawl, shield slams, and like some AoE removal as well. It like obviously it would be overpowered if it didn't. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying like you've got to consider like other minions don't have death rattles, so probably have other benefits.
It's something you have to dance around. I mean,
because how does he create a board? To create a threat, he has to Conjurer's Call it.
I think from this perspective, it's fine because he still has like a whelp left over, and he's thinking, all right, well, he's had a brawl. Warpath by itself does not clear this, like under any circumstance. So, okay, not under any circumstance. There are circumstances where Warpath might clear, but it's probably just big enough. And if the second brawl's gone, that's fine.
Is he gonna go deep with a? Is he gonna buff this?
Oh, I like this a little bit. Yeah. You go for the mana cycle in this turn, it lets you kill off the Dynamatic as well. There's not really anything you can Devastator here, right? Like, sure, it can be Devastator, but this is... I like this a lot from DawN. He could have considered going Ray of Frost beforehand on the opponent's minion just for some extra spells. He might go in on the conch here.
I have a suggestion.
Yeah.
I think... Oh, boy. He is going deep. Okay.
2 Northrend. Alright, I like holding the second conch calling, because at that point I think you're throwing way too much at the board. But I think this is a commitment for sure. Oh, whoa, what was that?
We gonna...
We'll see it in the side. Oh, no, we won't.
Nope. You gotta call for these things.
I didn't quite see it.
We'll get the secret check in a second.
If that's a counter spell, that is pretty big.
The biggest thing... So my question was the board enough of a threat to play the Cyclone before the Conjurers? It's one less spell, but you could keep the Death Rattle on the board. And then Tyler has to deal with it.
I think I do like the conch calling there. Okay. You've already seen a brawl. You don't want to hold back too much. I've heard this from a lot of players. I have played a bunch of mage myself, but as soon as you start holding stuff back, you give too much time. Like, sure, if you throw everything down on the board, they have a brawl. You throw everything down on the board, they have a brawl. You throw something else, they have a Devastator. It's like, okay, he had double brawl, double Devastator, etc. But, like, most of the time, they're not going to have double brawl, double Devastator, double everything.
Yeah.
So at some point, you just say, like, all right, I've seen a brawl. Statistically, he doesn't have the other brawl. I'm going to go.
And, you know, plenty of people will disagree with me, but there is merit in making plays where sometimes you just win.
Yeah.
Because if there's no clear here, DawN just kills it. Like, it's game over. You know, job done.
Oh my god. So this is actually... you can't see it from the side there, but it's fine. This is actually even cool because you have a... what's the word? It's part of mind games as well, because DawN Snap jamming the secret also means, like, even if it's not counterspell, Tyler's like, he played that awfully quick.
Right.
Which we just saw Tyler obviously use a shield slam just to say, all right, if this is counterspell, I can't afford my brawl to get counterspelled. So he just threw away, well, not threw away, he tested for counterspell the shield slam. And that's actually quite a big deal, because it means, like, sure, you get the brawl out now, but that's one less removal spell. I have 4 cards left in hand now from Tyler's perspective, and it's like,
what to do?
You know?
Yeah. That's actually... it's so difficult, right?
Yeah.
It's so difficult, because even if you think someone's bluffing, you can't take the chance, so the bluff always wins.
Yeah.
You know, even if it's not bluff, because DawN's not playing it purely to bluff. It's
Sure,
secret that
like
was playable, so play it, right? But I just mean, even if it was just a bluff, Tyler cannot pretend it's not. Wow. Okay. And this is nice. This is problems with playing around Super Collider a little bit as well. It means that if he hits into this Reform, then it just hits him well. And
and then it spawns
nothing.
stuff.
Yeah.
PGH a good pickup.
It is, yeah.
Then I guess, what, you can, like, Zilliax Orange Caliber to kill off the Varisa?
I think you might do a different way, actually. You know there's no Conjures, right?
Right.
Do you ever think you can just double 5-drop and play aggressive? Just not attack with the Ziliax and go face. I'm wondering how scared Tyler is what I'm judging. His 2 brawls are gone. He does, like, Super Collider is a very powerful card, but also, as you can see, it can be made a little bit less efficient.
Do you mean, by 5 drops, do you mean Big Game Hunter and Harrison? Or did you mean the Ziliax?
I just play Ziliax.
And no attacks?
I think so. The attack does nothing really, right?
I've got the beast in my sight.
Because, wait, just hang on. Let me just check Tyler's list for a second.
Yeah, sure, go for it. So
Yeah, because Tyler sells a weapons project, right? So I'm thinking that he might want to save Harrison for that.
true. I mean, he does need some card generation, right? He's running kind of thin at this point.
So I'm just thinking, just play Ziliax, like.
I think if you're playing the Ziliax, you have to at least trade then, because otherwise it gets pinged off, the whelp punches in, and then you take too much face damage. I either like playing Ziliax and killing off the Varisa, or I like playing the Harrison here, and he's taking this line. I mean, I don't think this game looks like it's going to be going that much longer, and if it does, Tyler's going to be in a good spot. But I think Tyler's saying, I can't wait and just hope I draw like the greatest cards over the next 3-4 turns. Right. Let me throw some bombs in, try to get some chip damage in, and I might get there with bombs. Tyler also knows there's, what, 4 or 5 random spells in DawN's hand, so there's... The context of DawN's hand isn't that powerful. Like, an average mage spell is pretty good, but they are relatively conditional, right? So, no, conditional, what's the word?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's fine. I'll figure it out.
We'll get there. Most importantly, DawN just has stuff to do this turn, and this is kind of the opposite of some of the issues we've been seeing from the mages in the earlier today.
Yeah.
In this powerful turns, you know, he still has the board. This Whelp's done a good job of not being a damage threat right now, but being an annoying threat that can't, you know, if it's there, then it means you've always got a backup.
I actually like this Astral Rift. I mean, the Arcane Intellect is just nice because you draw more cards, but it just generates more stuff.
Yeah,
like it's just guaranteed stuff. It might, you know, it might be two drops, but
it might not.
It might not.
It might be 2 1-drops.
Situational. That's the word.
Okay,
some of the mage spells are situational.
Yeah.
All right, that's a pretty good draw. The Clockwork Goblin by itself doesn't do a lot, but it means you can Ziliax Magnetize it, clean up the Varisa, leave a big lifesteal thing on the board. It heals you, and it's.
I like it.
I like it. It was a very good draw.
Yeah, bear in mind, these 2 minions obviously are not dead for Tyler. They're just frozen, which means they still exist. They still need to be dealt with in some respect by DawN. We can see that there is ways to deal with them, but still, you know, Tyler has to work with what he's got here.
So what DawN did that turn also set up lethal with the Frostbolt randomly generated from the Cyclone. Important to note. But the Ziliax with the Clockwork Goblin's going to put a wrench in that plan.
Tyler's just unhappy.
I mean, the thing. So this is how it plays out, right? From the Warrior, you're either like super ahead, which we've seen a couple of games of today. You're either super behind, where you're just dead, or it's kind of this thing where you're like lagging behind. You're like, I'm clearing some stuff. But I mean, Tyler's at 20 health. Before this turn, he was even lower, right? He didn't have the armor. He was at 12, right? He's dealing with stuff, but on board, DawN can clear almost all of this, and he's still got gas, right? So that's why Tyler's kind of like I'm clearing the board, but it doesn't feel great, you know.
Yeah. The Militia Commander, not a bad pick whatsoever. It's like direct removal that Mage doesn't really have right now.
It is really nice. He's considering whether or not he wants to develop something else this turn instead over it. The Commander cleanly kills the Clockwork Goblin. I like this a lot. This stops any more healing coming out from the Goblin. It lets you pop off the Mechanical Whelp, clear up the board, push some face damage. You've seen 2 brawls, the Warpath, the second Warpath. Is this the second Warpath or first Warpath? Anyways, Warpath wouldn't clear this either way.
Ooh. Okay. So you can Acolyte Warpath Super Collider.
True.
Clear the board.
You going down to 8? Doesn't feel great, but you need to do something, and you do need draw off of this Acolyte.
Also, you get 1 draw off the Acolyte, and the Acolyte lives, and you've just seen Frostbolt and some other removal, so it means that you probably, at minimum, gain 1 draw, maybe you can eke out a second one.
Definitely a scary situation, but...
And also, Tyler's not got much choice.
Yeah.
I don't think the armor up's worth the no Acolyte.
You can start off with this first, see what the draw is, but I'd be surprised if Super Collider didn't come out here.
Okay.
Yeah,
second Acolyte. You can't skip, right?
I know,
yeah.
But it looks nice.
I mean, yeah. It's going to be good next turn, though. Ooh, okay.
This is kind of interesting. We're getting to the point where it's kind of close, like we see rogue mirrors used to be before the nerf. Obviously, I like this.
Yeah, this is just the single most powerful turn DawN can do.
And you just saw the Warpath come out too.
Yeah. Oh wow. Ooh.
Okay, that's...
This is the single most powerful turn Tyler can do.
So you can bump the Acolyte first to see what the draw is, or just Omega Assembly. I don't think there's that much left in the deck that helps you deal with this, so I would like just to see the Omega Assembly come out.
I think the bump's fine. There's 2 taunt minions.
Yeah.
If you're gonna, rush into anything, then you can rush into anywhere.
You did need that Warpath. Actually, never mind. I thought he had used to Warpath, but if there was a second Warpath in the deck, this is better in exactly that situation because it means you can clear the board here. You take another 2, you got another 6, but I mean, a board clear is a board clear.
And the lower... I'm gonna say a phrase that's so obvious and very stupid.
Okay, I'm ready.
But please try and do... You need to go to Sol for training for this to understand what I mean.
All right.
Even though it sounds silly. So because DawN is expending cards, like last turn, right? He spent a few cards and his hand size is getting small. The smaller his hand size means there's just so much less chance of threat coming out from him.
Yep.
Which sounds obvious. If people got no cards, they can't do anything. But in this deck specifically, I feel like you always need a large hand size to do anything important. So just for this specific deck, it's even more true, is what I'm trying to get at.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So it means that yes, he's on 6, but there are a very small way, small amount of ways in which he actually dies.
We see DawN a little frustrated there, like clear after clear's coming out from Tyler, but he is continuing to push a little bit.
But this is what I mean. His plays are getting weaker and weaker and weaker because now, yes, he can make this Mountain Giant a bit cheaper and play, say, Militia Commander or the 2-drop and ping, but, well, as we can see, it takes 1 Devastator to just deal with this Mountain Giant.
He's pinging instead of doing other stuff.
Wait, he could have just used the Evocation and got a
The
2
Bloods!
2-drop.
I forgot about the Bloods!
Oh, yeah!
That makes so much more sense. Yeah, so DawN has been paying attention to the game. DawN knows there's blood left. He doesn't necessarily want to draw because there's blood, so even though it gets you closer to threats.
I just thought he was going to Evocation and play the Vendor and pink. Because
I think
I
you
don't
can
know
hold
what
on
you
to
saved it for.
Is there still I think there's still a Cyclone left over, no?
Maybe, but you've got the mana for it not to matter a lot of the time, right?
I think the Soup Vendor doesn't push that much most of the time.
Your opponent's on 2! He
Right,
pushes 1, and ping pushes another 1.
Okay, fair. Well, your opponent was at 5, technically.
Right, but I just mean it negates the armor up, right?
That's true.
Oh, this game is close.
So there's 2 Bloods in Tyler's deck. There's a 1 in
there's-
6 chance he just dies next turn if DawN chooses to ping and set him down to 3, which I believe he will. Wait, is there any way he clears this? The Militia Commander can deal with either half of this safeguard, the front half or the back half, but...
You probably want the front half, right? Because the Giant can be... There's mystery mechs. So it means like a Dynomatic, for example, would be frustrating to just kill off the Giant.
Right.
I think I'd rather just have 1 8/8. Also, though, bear in mind that then on the flip side, Omega Devastator kills off the Giant, whether it's on full health or not. So it is definitely not an easy one. And on such low health, is just a 2/5 just absolutely fine? Probably.
I think we're going to see DawN just
I
play...
love that we're seeing DawN not drawing cards.
Yeah, I
It's so
think that's
sick.
correct, though. Like, he knows Tyler's just struggling. Just put stuff on the board now. Even... Like, just the minions themselves, you don't need to do anything else. You ping, you set them, like, both Brawls are gone, both Warpaths are gone. Just, Boom's not active, even with a Devastator, it's just not, yes, I think that's a Blood coming out.
Now, the game would have definitely ended already if the Blood came out.
We would have seen the screen.
Yeah. The AI of the screen knows better than we do. The problem is just, I am not saying anything new right now, but the difference between having Boom live and not is unmeasurable at this point. If Tyler had Boom live, he could do so much more. Look at the 2. He's got 2 minions that would heal him.
Yeah.
If he had Boom live.
And it would let you actually get favorable, like, trades that
Yeah, you could do
matter.
stuff,
Otherwise,
yeah.
you know, DawN can dictate how they
It's
go.
so crazy. And with Galvanizer, he could play like almost his whole hand with a choice between, you know, obviously the 3 big ones. You'd have to cut down a little bit. But he can play a lot of stuff this turn, except none of it has Rush because there's no Boom.
Ziliax is gone, so Town Crier won't really find any life gain. Rusty Recycler is pretty much the way to go. And on board, if the Mountain Giant tanks, it has to punch through the Recycler. So there's a Militia Commander left over, so maybe this plus... So he's gonna... I think he's going to... Yeah.
I don't know what I think about this, though, because this is just drawing him deeper into his deck, which is a problem, right?
True, but he needs to do something, right? He needs some way to... This at least fights a little bit for the board. There's a bomb. There's a blood.
Then the game would have ended.
Yeah, no, there's 2 bloods left, so
Oh,
I think we're going to see DawN do just about anything but draw cards this turn.
Like an intellect go.
Well, Wolf Rider ends the game. Raid Leader does as well.
Wait, does it?
No, it doesn't.
No, because
I
it heals
lied.
for 2 and you can only ping for 1.
No. It heals for 2, goes up to 4. The Raid Leader means that the Militia Commander punches for 3, and then you get a ping off.
Sorry, yeah, I'm being really dumb. Okay, that was none. There's nothing really done.
So DawN just needs to consider, all right, I need to make sure my opponent's at 3 health so he can actually die to a blood. If I trade in here and he's at 4 and he draws a blood and he doesn't die, that's bad for me. But he also needs to consider, like, if he doesn't draw a blood, I need to make sure I don't die just on board. So he's like, I don't think he's ever going to draw here. I think he has to.
DawN's just with me on this. I'm just like, what does he
has to
even
ping
do?
face and he has to kill off one of these minions to make sure he doesn't down the backswing. So there's 20% chance. Is there going to be blood?
Let's find out.
That's not a blood.
But that's not anything else either.
I know. DawN has 2 bloods in the deck as well. 2 in a 9 chance. So Tyler needs to figure out, is there some way I can clear here? And the answer is going to be no. So it's going to be, all right, draw the card.
He can't even say Acolyte Dynomatic, right?
He could.
Well,
no, he could, but...
He can, but he shouldn't.
Well, there's nothing you can even draw for 2 mana left over, right?
Exactly, that's what I mean.
Nothing,
you
I see what you mean.
gain from doing that play, because there's nothing that's going to make an impact. I think he just has to just...
Drop the Meg.
He may as well just, drop Meg, whatever, and just pass. Just see what happens. There's nothing else he can do, right? Oh, Tyler's just reasonably. So we're laughing and saying just do this.
Maybe
but
there is
Tyler, you go deep when you're in a weird game like this, so you have to think about every outcome, anything he can get that helps in any way. But I think all the cards he has are fairly straightforward.
He knows.
Without
like,
Dr. Boom, without Dr. Boom, he can't do anything, right?
He
can't make some crazy trades. He's going to drop the Mecha Dude and just be like,
DawN knows.
This is literally Russian roulette right now. There's a couple in the chamber, and they're just passing it to each other and pressing the trigger.
We're going to game 3. That's it. Lethal on board.
Wow.
DawN takes the win. The Hukar Bloods actually helped a little bit. I mean, it meant Tyler had to make some very specific plays that played around just like, I don't know. We're getting some pretty cool games today.
That is, it's so difficult. DawN's just loving it. And yes,
he's like,
I'm with you. I was stressed for you, DawN. I was stressed for you. But the biggest thing for me is that these situations, I feel like, people might be like, random stuff or whatever. But for me, these situations actually do quite often test the players more than they just randomly win games. Because you have to change playstyle midway through. You have to account for all these outside factors that are brought into the game. And both players were doing it, right? Yeah. Just as much as Tyler can discover mechs, you see all the discoverable spells and minions from DawN as well, so it's definitely tested and trying for these players to try and navigate these very complicated games once they get to that point. But DawN did take the win, and that's going to even it up. We're going to go to a quick break while we're set up for game number 3. Don't go anywhere. This is the Asia Pacific Grandmasters.
Now the cards show me a tinker, so clever, but kind of a stinker. In a storm that's a raging, sits the last one I'm paging, a truly unusual thinker. All bots are now gonna go boom, but still, you shouldn't assume that I've made this selection on my own direction.
No, indeed, let's be clear. I have brought you all here, and now you're all in. It is time to begin.
Each teammate I'm calling has stories. This tale's about riches and glories. Deep down in the earth, a king dreams of rebirth and refilling his gold inventories. Such a shame to have lost all that treasure. Join up, be a kobold of leisure. The cards now be calling. Someone new, no more stalling. And we next will be taking her measure.
Game number 1 of this series was pretty one-sided, with Tyler taking it with his warrior, and then that last game was just nuts with mainly, I would say, Hakar just having the last laugh overall. Yeah. But we are going into game number 3. It's going to be Tyler's warrior against DawN's mage, of course, and this one, I don't know, I think the game got very difficult for Tyler there, but I'm still convinced that he's got the better end of the stick here. I'm a fan of the mage list, but I feel like a lot had to go wrong for Tyler for that to, and that was still even close, right? Yeah. It still wasn't exactly one-sided for DawN, so I feel like, you know, maybe second time around Tyler can get this done.
Yeah, we're seeing the power of being able to switch to one of these side decks, like especially when it's built so like extremely for this exact matchup, like the Super Colliders, the BGHs, they just help so much. Obviously, DawN having some extra gas. We saw the potential of the mechanical whelps last game, obviously, working with Conjurer's Calling and just by itself.
Yeah, it did a really good job, and now the anti-mage curve, 3-drop into 4-drop into big game.
And Tyler's on the coin, which means it'll be harder for DawN to activate to get the hand size where Giant will be playable, at least early on. But double Arcane Intellect, not a terrible start from DawN, right?
I even wonder if there's a, like, you could skip a, well, not skip, but accelerate a little bit and actually just go Coin Acolyte first, and then just go, because I don't feel like you, apart from pushing extra damage, you don't need the 3-3 on 2, right?
Right.
But maybe the threat of card draw is pretty good.
I think you'd have to do the math on at what point could a Giant come down if he has, let's say, AI or a Banana Buffoon, right? And then if that turn would be 5, then yeah, sure. We can just BJ to answer that. But if it were to turn 4, then you might think, maybe I save the coin here on the off chance that... Yeah, but I think even with Arcane Intellect into Arcane Intellect, the Giant would just come down on 5, which means that BGH could come out on 5 to answer it. So I like Tyler coining this third out to be aggressive. Especially when you have, like you said, the second 3-drop and then Devastator, and then you could just...
It's so funny when it's the first card.
Yeah.
Because all I imagine is, and this obviously isn't even how it would work, but in like if we were sat opposite playing this game and then with real cards, it's like put a bomb into your opponent's deck, I just lean over and place a bomb on top of it, and you're like, what? And I'm like, what? It's in your deck.
Yeah.
And then you're like,
you didn't specify.
Draw the card, bang.
Okay, this could turn
spicy.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So because Tyler has the option to play this instead of Devastator, and this still A, does damage, and B, shuffles bombs in, which is aggressive in itself, I think this is fine over playing the Devastator. Tyler has no LX in this list, so there's no reason to just save the Wrench Caliber, might as well throw it out now.
Also, most importantly, the Militia Commander is the... normally you want to front load a minion, because the minion doesn't have charge, but the weapon kind of does, but the Militia Commander has Rush, which is enough.
Ooh, okay. This is about the average outcome. This is really cool, because Tyler can just... Obviously, Super Collider would have cleared this board, but Tyler can just BGH, throw another 7 face, and be like, Yeah. See ya.
Yeah, it's a funny one though, right? Because if you rewind, is it better to play the Devastator because you actually clear the board? If that turn happens?
Do you even want to clear the board?
I don't know, and that's my point.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying it's definitely correct, but it's just, it was a difference in the play, right? Push more damage or make a board that actually beats Giant Conjuring, which is the best thing your opponent can do.
Definitely something to think about. DawN is faced with an incredibly important decision here. He has the option to go Khadgar Conch Calling and just say, all right, I can win next turn right now if you don't have the Brawl. Tyler's like, well, that's the thing. You're at 8 health. If you don't hit it, right? So this gives Tyler the out of DawN just drawing. Oh my goodness, this is gonna be decided right now, right?
Who says Warrior games are slow?
So let's say you Warpath 3 times. That doesn't let you kill a Giant with what's left on board. You can Militia Commander to take 1 Giant off the board, but then you're just taking 26, right?
Are there any draws that help Tyler? I do not believe there are.
Oh no, there's not. No. Wrench Caliber's not even lethal.
Yeah.
So Tyler basically has the option to stem the bleeding and say, all right, I can kill off 1 Giant, or just say, draw a bomb, I win the game. I think we're going to see him go for Commander and kill one thing off. Okay, he's trading first, seeing what's happened. Yeah, this makes a lot more sense, because the Acolyte pushing face doesn't matter too much.
Yes, yeah.
The Clockwork Goblin is what matters, because it sets you at 5 health, which means that you could just die to bomb.
Which is why I was saying, is there anything he can draw that changes his game plan dramatically? Right. Because he has 1 draw that he can always take for free.
I like that. So the other option from DawN last turn would have been Ziliax to heal up a bit, but I like this play. It's like, I'm in a rough spot, I need to just close this game out. Right. And I think he took a great risk there. So Tyler has to figure out, all right, what are we doing here? Oh boy.
Time. Okay, he's gonna get it done.
Okay. No bomb. So Tyler would have died if he tried to go all in there and just say, all right.
Well, yes and no. He would have shuffled the additional bombing, right?
Okay, yeah, fair.
Well, Tyler's got 1 more turn regardless, so I guess the only thing this changes is it gives him
I like this a lot. This plays around
Caliber into Goblin for 2 more bombs in the deck.
So I like DawN playing the Whelp here instead of anything else, because it means it plays around exactly Tyler going 1-drop Brawl and then the 1-drop winning the Brawl. So this means that Brawl is no longer an out.
I mean, he has to shuffle the bomb.
Brawl would be an out if the mechanical Whelp lives, because then it's just 2 damage left over. But still,
25%. I mean, that's pretty good sometimes. Look at both players. Just like these past 2 games, especially, have just been so nutty. One was a lot slower than the other one, but I think from my initial look here, that Tyler just has to play the Goblin and go.
I agree. That's the only line here.
But then it has to go back-to-back bombs.
You're dead otherwise, so that's
I just mean like from the previous play, you had to go at.
You had only 1 bomb.
Yeah, 1 bomb to draw for lethal versus 2. There's nothing else you can do, right?
It's kind of crazy. We've seen 3 games this set that have just played out completely differently. Like all 3 of them were just, here are the 3 ways this matchup can go. Obviously, it's not like set in stone, this is exactly what's going to happen, but we've seen quite a bit of variety in this set, and it's been pretty cool.
Tyler, HGG did throw the Ragnaros for a 1 in 8 chance to win. A game he talks about still to this day.
Oh!
Both players, there's 1!
No. Oh my...
Oh
my god.
Oh,
yes.
Okay. Wow. For
we
just
see the 3.
Second, I thought he was going to do it again. But DawN takes the victory, and you're quite right. Those 3 games were 3 very, very different games of Hearthstone, even with the same classes and the same players. But DawN takes the victory, and Cloud9 unbeaten across 3
across
players.
Sets at least, yeah.
Across series, across 3 different players as well for Grandmasters so far. So that is just mind-blowing in itself. But congratulations to DawN. You know, if we were getting tense for that series, and I mean, we could see what the other 2 players were thinking. Absolutely mental. But that is match number. Wow, today's just flying by. That's match number 4 gone. We've only got 1 more match coming up. So we've got Patra versus Blitzchung coming up after the break. Don't go anywhere. This is Grandmasters.